From Wall Street to Main Street, this is LALATE.
It's a big early morning of Early Mornings LALATE, direct from Santa Monica, with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check update of 2021. In this recording, the breaking news that was predicted on this channel over the last 5 days happened. Yes, a major developing details today, as that recon will be going to the finish line. A breaking details of it in this early morning's broadcast. The big exciting details is that the roads and bridges and the recon will be going for a vote as early as tonight. And then the price tag. You thought it was 1.75. I always said it could be going more. And tonight and this morning, it looks like it could be 1.95. What changed? Programs in, programs out, I have the latest details. With a major achievement achieved overnight, one of the provisions I said that was going to go into the recon got into the recon. This is the second major provision added in less than 48 hours. I expect 2 more to be added today as well. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven across the board. And then the exciting details of fifth stimulus. It's a big day, and guess what? We are far from over, because you're seeing how the situation is very fluid. I predicted the change of the guard on how they're developing the recon to the finish line. No longer waiting until everything is finished, they're just calling for a vote. How are they doing it? How is it working? I have all those details and more as we go into a big early morning's broadcast. The toast is toasting, the butter is buttering. I'm here, you're here, the stimulus is up, and the Duchess of Cambridge and the Sirloin of Los Angeles are both advocating for your stimulus. I can't believe I'm actually saying it, but it's true. It's literally true. The Duchess of Sussex and the Sirloin of Los Angeles both advocating for your stimulus inclusion, and it starts right now. Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a beautiful day and hope the weather is good where you are. Here we go. The price is right. Well, it ain't at right at 1.75. Today, it's at 1.95. What happened overnight? The deal is happening. And the latest surprising details is that the programs that I said were going in are going in. 2 now added in less than 48 hours. Can 2 more be added later today? I believe they will. The latest details in this breaking news report today, direct from Santa Monica, California. Student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven. And then guess what? Fifth stimulus is definitely needed. And if we teed up for the midterm elections by those Democrats, I have those latest details. That comes right after fifth stimulus. It's a big early morning broadcast. I'm excited you here. And this is LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want your father's incredible family. Now approaching 420,000. 420,000 subscribers. Next, like this video and consider becoming a member. Meantime, coming up after this is our great overnight crypto. And then the big show of Morning's Countdown at 7 a.m., followed by live on air, direct from Santa Monica on Morning's LA at 9. This recon that was passed 3 weeks ago in the subcommittee of the House pays you about $15,000. There's $15,000 of checks, stimulus checks across 3 clusters of different checks for you in this recon. When third stimulus became law, I said I can get you about $15,000 from those programs. I've gotten viewers on average about $45,000. When we look at this fourth stimulus recon, it's about $15,000 across these clusters of checks. Today, more checks are in there, and tonight, it will be more as well. Let's go over the 3 clusters and the 3 add-ons and see which checks are in there and where they're going. And if you're new to this channel, if I say something's in there, it's at the time of the recording, and if it's out, it's also at the time of recording. That's okay. They got a check in there for this earned income tax credit for the essential workers 1 more year. They got $4,000 of elder care checks in there across the board. They had $4,000 for caring for young children. They got the Pell's Grant $550 checks in there for college students. And they got in their checks for you for your low-income community home repairs. If you live in a low-income community, they can give you checks for home repairs. Then they got the money in there for the CTC 1 more year, the child tax credits, $3,600 or $2,000 in checks for you. Finally, they got in their checks for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufactured. 15% for the purchase of new electric electric bike, $7,500 for a new electric vehicle, a little bit more if it's for business use. That's the first cluster of checks. Everything passes now subsidy survives. Provisions slightly different, so great news across the board on that one. Let's go to the first add-on, and it's $25,000 proposed by Maxine Waters for the purchase price of your first home. Did not survive, but you just saw in the first cluster the checks for those home repairs surviving. Well, guess what? Maxine Waters got other checks in the second cluster, also for home repairs, and it's the weatherize your home. Let's turn to home repairs right now, and those weatherizing your checks. Here we go. In cluster number 2, weatherizing your checks got in there. Then they got in there pre-kindergarten, community college out. They got in there tax credits for household benefits, and then, yeah, if you missed the breaking news last Friday evening to LA, they got in there paid leave and family leave. This is why you watch this channel, because over the last 7 days, I gave you 3 provisions that said they're going to be added in there. Paid leave and family leave, exactly like I predicted, went in there. It's a lot of money, paid leave and family leave. What is it? Paid family leave, you have to stay home because your wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay home because someone broke their leg. How much is it paid? $1,700 a week approximately. You make $70,000 more per year, split in half. $35,000 annual salary, about $800 a week, split in half. $400 a week, and you make about $15,000 a year, and that's per week. So it looks like they could be doing upwards of 4 weeks. This is thousands of dollars to you, checks directly to you. Let's go to the second add-on. When this check would come to you and come to the state or local, and then provide you the service for free. What is it? It's free home health care. Wonderful. For your seniors and persons on disability. Bob Casey was looking for $250 billion, did not get that number, to be a little bit less. 1 or 2 years of free home health care for seniors and also people on disabilities, provided totally free by the federal government. Let's go to the third add-on of checks, and you're ready for this? It's incredible. Here we go. Let's look and see which of these survived and which are gone. Free school meals for all checks. They got it in there. And that includes $65 a month checks when you're not in school. They got cheaper prescription medication in there. You saw the breaking news on that one yesterday. They got immigration reform checks in there. They got farmers out, I think, but I'm not positive. Free internet. I don't know. It was passed, but I don't know if it's still in there. Clean energy's out. Workers passed, but I don't know if it's still in there. And then Medicare expansion. They got hearing, but they did not get dental or vision. Again, they got hearing, but not dental vision. This, again, is one of the provisions I think that's going to get in there, at least the vision. I think the vision is very, very cheap. Which brings us to the third add-on, and that third add-on is the MSE, monthly stimulus check. Even though I seem to sometimes repeat myself, there was someone in the morning's show yesterday said, why advocate for something if it's not in there? That was the message. Why advocate if something's not in there? Because the situation is very fluid. Yesterday, we started the day with paid leave not in there. I said they're advocating. They've been advocating for 2 weeks to get it in there. Nancy Pelosi's word is, I'm fighting to get it in there. She got it in there. She fought, she got it in there. The day before that, they've been fighting for 20 years to get prescription medication prices cheaper. They got it in there after a 20-year fight the day before that. Guess who also is your inspiration for advocating today? Well, you've met Sirloin. Let me meet you to the other person of royalty who's advocating for your stimulus. And that is the Duchess of Sussex. You know, Sirloin, Duchess of Sussex, both royalty. He's a sir, she's a duchess. And what's happening? Duchess of Sussex has been making phone calls advocating for stimulus. This is not a joke. I'm literally not making this up. What happened? Kristen Gillibrand, who's a senator from New York, gave Meghan Markle some phone numbers. Now, this makes a little bit no sense, but I don't know if it's Kristen Gillibrand who doesn't have her head screwed on right, but it sounds like it isn't. She gave her some Republican phone numbers to call. Why did you give the Duchess Republican phone calls to call? Why don't you just give her like the cast of Atlanta Housewives to call? You call the Democratic senators, you call the Republican senators. So Kristen Gillibrand says, I talked to some of the women senators and let them know she's going to reach out to them because she's the only one. She's the one making some of the calls. So she called some of the others, and I told them in advance she wants to be part of the working group on the paid leave long term. So she wants to be going on, whether it's coming to fruition now or later. She wants to be part of the group of the women that hopefully get to work on paid leave on together. Good. So this is what Shelley Moore Capito, who's a Republican out of West Virginia, said. I'm in my car, I'm driving, and it says caller ID blocked. Who is that? Honestly, I thought it was Joe Manchin. He always calls in some block number. Now, I gotta admit, I read the quote wrong yesterday, but when I read it right, it's very funny. Now it's funny when I read it right. So I guess Joe Manchin's always, calling her up with those block numbers. It's Joe. I just know it's Joe. And she goes, hey, hey, Santa Capito. I said, yes. She said, it's Megan, Duchess of Sussex. Think I could do that? Call up, hey, it's Sirloin. Who? The Sirloin, the cow lobbyist. You've met me in the halls of Congress. This is not off the record quote. This isn't a tweet. Let's say less. I couldn't figure out how she got my number. But then I realized she wasn't alone because she called Senator Collins. Now, why are you calling Senator Collins? That's what I used to tell the viewers. Why are you calling Senator Collins to ask for a stimulus check? She ain't going to give you even, a shoe shine, let alone a stimulus check. But Meghan Markle made the mistake and called Senator Susan Collins as well. That is why you have to advocate, because if anyone's going to advocate, it's going to be us. Certainly before a Duchess, but we're all royalty here. We are all royalty, and we were told we were royalty by the incredible chief of staff for the number one person in the recon who says, "You're delivering," and boy, you delivering. As Jennifer Tunney in all the live chat says, how many people have you called today? Well, here you go. They now have in total between congressional senators' office received more contacts of advocacy from the LA Purple Power than the number of signatures in the American petition. Yeah, can we just tell broadcast media that? Every time they cite that darn petition, we've blown them away. And here comes the comment from the senators that they don't get an understanding of what a petition is because it just has a lot of signatures. Now they have a better understanding of what Americans are going through the pandemic than just a bunch of signatures. That's the quote. They have heartbreaking stories from the LA viewers, and they have the voice of the people in LA. Very, very kind. Who across the nation, who has become too loud to be ignored. As I said yesterday, I'll get to that in a second. Please continue your encouragement for the continued advocacy. As the professional voice of the people, you have become LA, and continue this until this becomes law. Very, very important, as what this means is we need to advocate. As Meghan Markle did, as Nancy did with paid leave, as Bernie did with prescription medication, and all these other legislators did with prescription medication. People are advocating across the board. Not a time to call it a day and say thank you so much. You got to advocate. And yeah, my promise to Kristen Gillibrand. So if you reach out to her, say LA will make some phone calls for you as well. Not about paid leave. You got Megan to take care of that. But the Los Angeles royalty, I will make phone calls for stimulus checks if you get me some phone numbers as well, Kristen. Just so long as they're Democratic phone numbers. I'm not calling Republicans. They're not giving any one of these stimulus checks. There you go. In the second half of this video, it's a full buffet, breakfast buffet, this video today. You've never seen a video like this. In the second half of this video, we'll be going over the programs in and programs out. And yeah, you heard the breaking news that paid leave is in there. How much is it going to pay you? It's going to pay you a lot. It's going to pay you a lot of money. The price is right. It's not right at 1.75. It's now at 1.95. The breaking details on that. The vote is coming on the roads and bridges and the recon as early as tonight. Will it happen tonight? All the latest details and analysis. And the deal is certainly totally different than it was 24 hours ago. You saw it first on Mornings LALATE yesterday. I told you the whole narrative of how they're approaching this recon changed in 24 hours. How did it change? It concerns the voting process. I have those details and more as we go into a big early mornings broadcast. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. But first, here's a little bit about the community page. I'll be back with you shortly. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on Mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now from Santa Monica, California, as a deal is happening on your recon. But how can a deal happen if provisions are still fluid and coming in, coming out? I'll explain what's new on early today. The price is right, 1.75, but look at it, 1.95. That's where it's going in as a new program's added, and that is paid leave and medical leave. Student loan debt forgiveness, more debt could be forgiven across the board. Whose debts would be forgiven next are the latest details. And then we go into the exciting elements of fifth stimulus. Fifth stimulus is right around the corner. The Democrats are teeing this up as they go into the midterm elections. So those details and more as we go into a big early morning's broadcast. The excitement's here because the toast is toasted, the butter is buttering. I'm here, you're here, and the Duchess of Sussex and Sirloin. What in the same? And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like this video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, or Calcino VIP. Well, here we go. The details are very much shocking. I had told you a week ago that provisions that I was predicting were going to go in would go in. I predicted that the cheaper prescription medication would go in. It got in there. Then I said to you paid leave and medical leave. It got in there yesterday. Here we go. In less than 24 hours, 48 hours, two major provisions were added. Let's go over first the paid leave and medical leave, which explains how this is totally different. Paid leave and medical leave was originally in there at 12 weeks, $500 billion. Then at 4 weeks, $100 billion. Then out. How did it get back in, and why did it get back in? More importantly, if the number one senator in the equation, Joe Manchin, says, I don't support it. Why is it going in if he doesn't support it? Let me explain that in a second. But first, let me go over what's going on. Back from the dead is the paid leave and medical leave, said the news reports yesterday. The House Ways and Means has crafted House Ways and Means Committee has crafted a policy that will finally give workers and their families the peace of mind of knowing that when the disaster strikes, they can rely on paid leave for a total crisis, said Richard Neal, head of the Ways and Means Committee, in a statement yesterday. The substance of the changes of the legislation are being put to the Congressional Budget Office to take a look at it. Nancy Pelosi originally had it in there then at $500 billion, then took it out, then reduced it to $100 billion, then took it out. Now it's coming back in at $200 billion, more than it was before. What are the provisions going to look like? It'll be $200 billion. It'll cover all workers taking time off because of birth of a newborn, care for a family member, death, or deal with an illness or injury, or among other things, beginning shortly. And Nancy Pelosi issued a statement yesterday saying, we initially had planned for a Rules Committee hearing on the bill on this Monday, but suggestions for changes continue to come in. So this morning, which would then be Wednesday morning, we presented to Rules the amendments which contain some changes. And at the time, we've been convincing the CBO and the Senate some of the changes. It's my intention that the process be put on the House floor and pass a bill that would pass on the Senate floor. But because I've been informed by a senator of opposition to a few of the priorities, and because we must have a legislation by both, we must strive to find a common ground. I commend the budget chairman, John Yarmuth, for his situation. Now we can bring it forward. So very confusing, that quote. Let me explain to you what is going on. And this tees up what's happening in the second half of this video. You saw it first debuted on Mornings LA yesterday. On Mornings LA yesterday, I told you that Bernie Sanders basically said, I'm tired of this. Just call stuff for a vote. And if people really are opposed to it, let's see you raise your hand and say no, because I don't think you're going to say no. Bernie Sanders was calling people's bluffs starting yesterday. And this was starting the changing narrative of both progressives and moderates, that people just say, you know what, I just see a lot of hemming and hawing. You're just sort of complaining a lot. Are you really going to vote against this, or are you just complaining? And so Bernie said, call for vote. And that's why Nancy's statement here is a complete change. we would have seen no less than 48 hours ago, we wouldn't call a vote on anything if it wasn't done. And we wouldn't call a vote on something if it was opposed on the Senate side. No longer the case, because guess what? They don't think these provisions are really opposed. I'll explain this more in a second as I get closer to the other provisions coming in and what people had said about opposing those. But now let's go to the next add-on, the next provision that was added, and I have those details starting yesterday. Cheaper prescription medication will be in this recon. This was out as of just Medicare Part B as of last Wednesday. But this is huge. Let's explain what this is. Medicare, established decades ago, has charter provisions. And on those charter provisions for Medicare, it says that Medicare must pay the price of medication prices asked by the pharmaceutical companies, meaning that Medicare cannot negotiate on anything. If the pharmaceutical company wants $1,000, Medicare has to pay it. Can't say that's too much. That has to pay it. So for 20 years, senators and House members have tried to change the legislation. As Bernie said, we try to do this every year and we never get it done. This time they said, no, we're going to get it done. And every year they had 15 paid lobbyists from the pharmaceutical companies trying to block it to happen. On Wednesday, the biggest day of this entire month happened, well, last month, I guess it would have been, the president made the biggest move. And it was overshadowed by the climate stuff. The president should have run this story. It was a huge win for him, and no one knew it happened except you and I. What did you do? After months of opposition from Kristen Sinema about doing this legislation, she does not want to do the legislation concerning cheaper medication. He called her up and said, we got to do this. And he convinced her, and she said, yes, this was the change. Finally, we had gone from just doing medication cheaper for Medicare Part B to now other parts like Part D. Thursday morning, he debuted the recon, and he messed up because he didn't mention cheaper prescription medication, causing people like Bernie Sanders to say, I think it's out. Between Thursday and Wednesday, they kept on negotiating to get it in there, and they did. And what did they get in there? Medicare Part B, Medicare Part D will be and are going to be negotiating prices for cheaper medication for you immediately. And these cheaper prices will stay in place for at least through 2028 and cannot go up any more than the 2020 inflation rate. Wow. This includes Medicare Part B, which is insulin and diabetes medication, and D, which includes cancer and arthritis medication, all very expensive medication. Here's an example. Ron Wyden, the senator, says some real wins for patients and consumers, particularly a $35 per dose ceiling on insulin medication. Then, how will this work? It basically says that after 20 years of the pharmaceutical companies blocking this event from happening, it happened. For the first time ever, the government will no longer have its hands tied behind its back. This is a sign of real progress. Chuck Schumer praised the event. He said, we've heard from the people across the country who have serious illnesses, can't afford the medicine. Today, we have a massive step forward in helping alleviate the problem. It's not everything we want, but we got it where we wanted to. Kristen Sinema also praised the event. The comments kept on coming in as Dick Durbin says, it's a good beginning. Scott Peterson said, it's really good for seniors. Jan Schakowsky, Democrat of Illinois, said, lobbyists have been fighting to get this out for ages. And Ron Wyden said, hey, it's better, and it is absolutely transformative. Now seniors will have to spend less money on their medicine. Some of them were not getting their medicine because they couldn't afford it. Now they'll be able to spend less money on their medicine for the first time in 20 years. Incredible. There you go. Now, what had happened over the last few days? Over the last few days, I had shown you that a series of provisions I thought were going in would be going in. And what were they? Those provisions going in, I said to you, were the provisions that concerned things like paid leave. Paid leave now in. I told you that the cheaper prescription medication would go in. It's now gone in. What could be next, and what have I also predicted is going in? Well, over the last week, I predicted that the vision will go in, and I'm also predicting the paid leave will go in. The SALT will go in. SALT is the cap on state and local tax deduction. It is proposed by Gothenheimer on the House side, Democrat. And it is a good provision. It's especially helpful in states like California, New York, and New Jersey, where it allows people to deduct more items. Immigration reform is currently in there. There's pushes to remove it. So this is where it gets teed up for the second part of this video, which is the issue of changing the recon. We had Bernie say on Friday last week that's the best bill since the 1960s, but with major gaps. Number one. We had Ron Wyden saying there's a lot of work to be done. It's not done until the Senate acts on it. There's a significant amount of work to be done. Chris Coons saying a lot of changes are coming. Then we had Pramla saying she's getting phone calls around the clock from the senators. AOC said the same thing as well. Chuck Schumer dealing with the Senate parliamentarian potentially taking out immigration reform this week. And Murphy saying provisions are coming out. How did this suddenly become different in 24 hours, the situation? It became different in the last 24 hours because of the following. Somewhere along the line, people started to see, wait a second, it's the senators who are determining what goes in there. It's the House subcommittee that's writing it up, and then it's the House that's determining the process of the voting situation. So somewhere along the lines, people said, I think it's just time to call a vote. Because we're hearing too many people complain and too many people putting up potential red lines or lines in the sand. Here were the examples. The Goth Gang, which is Gothenheimer, House Democrats, saying, if you do not put in salt, we will block the recon on the House side. Call their bluff? Sure. Call the vote and see if they really will do it if it's not in there. Or put it in there and see if the people who oppose its inclusion will vote against the recon. Immigration reform, definitely a hot potato, because here's what's happening. People that see it coming in, people who see it in say we will vote against it unless it's removed. And people who see it in are also saying if you remove it, we'll vote against the recon. The numbers, the tally at the moment is more people want it out than more people want it in on the House side. Then we had people on the paid leave who said if you don't get it in, we're voting against the recon. And we have had Bernie, who's been mum about the situation. Would he vote against the recon on the Senate side if it doesn't have dental, vision, and hearing? That is why the voting process is what it is today. We could potentially have a vote on the recon and roads and bridges as early as Thursday night. Nancy Pelosi particularly likes to do votes on Thursday night because she sometimes flies out of town on Friday. And we've seen the prior votes on the roads and bridges on a Thursday night, about 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Price is right. I told you it would go higher than 1.75 because guess what? You had a provision in there, it goes higher. So the paid leave, you just saw it. It's $200 billion. Now the recon is at $1.95 billion. The reason why Nancy added it in there brings us to the same equation. Why, if you took it out because of Joe Manchin, are you putting it in because of Joe Manchin? Because Bernie believes, and you can see this quote in this video, that a lot of people are saying, I'm going to vote against it. And he doesn't believe they really will. They're calling people's bluff. Don't take out the provision thinking the person doesn't want it in there. Keep it in there and force them to vote no against it. Shocking to say it against someone in your party. But it looks like someone in this group said, you know what? People are asking things to take it out based upon thinly veiled threats. Leave it in there and let's see them vote against it, and then we'll deal with the situation. That's what's new on this early morning's broadcast. Which brings us to the programs in and programs out. Now, Joe Manchin did have a point, and his point was my point from last weekend. There's something wrong in who wrote this recon up. Did the White House do it? I think they did. What's wrong? The wording permanent, lifetime, multiple generations. These programs aren't lifetime, so why would that language be in there? He agreed to 1.75. He didn't agree to 17.5 trillion. And that's what happens when suddenly these programs may be potentially lifetime. Let's go over some of these checks. Programs in, programs out. Which programs are in at the time of this recording? Here we go. Pre-kindergarten 3 to 4 year olds, you're going to get a check if you're a parent for 1 year for pre-kindergarten. Then, if you have a child, you're under the age of 17, you're going to get $3,200. You're going to get $300 or $250 a month, which is about $3,600 for 1 year. Here comes a note from the White House. If you make $150,000 or less, I don't think that's right. I don't think that's what they agreed upon. It was always $60,000. It's now becoming a middle-class stimulus check. I don't think that's the case. Earned income tax credit. Yes, another round of this for you, for those essential workers. That's about $1,500, $1,800 check. Then here comes the red flag. Permanently improving Medicare coverage for home services for seniors and people on disabilities. No. It's supposed to be 1 year. It's not supposed to be permanent, or 2 years. Then, including hearing services for people covered under Medicare. Yeah, in there. Then we got more checks across the board. We got checks for those home repairs. $150 billion to expand affordable housing. This includes construction, rehab, and improvement of more than 1 million homes. That's also rent and mortgage assistance, we're told. Then, College students will get a $550 check if they're on the Pell's grant. People in schools, children will get $65 checks while they're at home from school during the summer breaks, and then while in school, they'll get free school meals for all. What else could be going into the recon as by the end of today? And if not by the end of today, where else? Well, that provision is dental, vision, and hearing. They got hearing in there, but not dental and vision. Bernie says we're the richest country and people have no teeth in the mouth. They cannot hear. Any recon must have serious negotiations in there. Now let's go over the nuances of that. But first, let me go over something that's new on Early Mornings LA. Chuck Schumer governs how the Senate works. Nancy has nothing to do with the Senate. It's Chuck who does it. My sense is that if this keeps on ramping up, and if we do see so many changes come from those senators, and the House passes the recon today, I believe it would go to the Senate subcommittee before it goes to the Senate floor. If there's so many changes they're making on the Senate side, then the legislation is not ready for a vote-a-rama. Vote-a-rama is 48 hours of changes. You don't want to tee this up for just 48 hours changes if you have a lot of changes to put in there. You want to put it to a subcommittee. Don't leave it stuck in the subcommittee. Just put it into a subcommittee where you get those changes across into the board. Now, let's turn to those Bernie 3 provisions, dental, vision, and hearing. I think vision is going to go in there. Vision is easy. They can do this about $150 a person on a Medicare. It's for glasses. For example, eye exam, $50 a year, and $100 for glasses. Very simple. Of the 3 provisions, dental, vision, dental, hearing, vision, dental most expensive, vision the cheapest. How would this work? It would probably work with a voucher, check directly to you to go out and get that services rendered. Very, very simple for people on Medicare. Then they got hearing in there for the free money from for hearing aids, either with a check directly to you or a refunding check, a rebate check after you pay for it. I think it's going to be just a covered expenditure, so you don't have to pay anything out of pocket because hearing aids are about $300. And then comes the dental, the most expensive provision. How do they do this? Well, they first had it at 10 years. Then they had it 3 years. Then Bernie and the president agreed to reduce it. Bernie was not happy about this. And they talked about $800 checks per year, or $850. $850 checks for dental, not a lot, and doesn't really cut it, but better than nothing. The latest check of series of voucher checks across the board, and then it was out. So let's go over some of my notes and see where my notes compare to the situation for what the provisions look like. Child tax credit, I have it at $60,000 or less. The White House saying it at $150. I don't think it was $150. I showed them trying to do $110. They couldn't get it. Community college out. Pell's grant, $550 checks to college students. And then the dropping the Medicare eligibility age to 55 or 60. I don't think that happened. Paid leave. Let's go over the calculations to see how this works. Paid leave. $1,700, $800, $400 a week. It's a lot. It's a lot of money per week. Well, they originally had it 12 weeks for everyone. For a decade, that was $500 billion. Then they had it 4 weeks for just low income and employees. That's $100 billion. Today, it is at $200 billion, but we don't know how. So I think they either added weeks or they broadened the eligibility to include all income levels across the board. Let's just use 4 weeks, for example. 4 weeks, $800 a week. Yeah, that's $3,200. It's a lot of checks. It's a lot of checks. That is per year. Then the cheaper prescription medication out, back in. The clean energy out and staying out, the health insurance in there, shorter number of weeks, and then the housing aid. Wow, incredible, great news. This is 175. Third stimulus had it at $47 billion. It's at 175 now. And in-home healthcare, $200 billion. It's in there. Yeah, that's why when we see the word permanent, it is not in there at $100 billion permanent. No, that's 1 year. Permanent would be about $100 billion, 100 trillion, 1 trillion. It would be 1 trillion or 1,000 trillion. Yeah, 1,000 billion. Yeah, something like that. You know, Duchess of Sussex money. There we go. And with that, let's turn to student loan debt forgiveness before we go over a little bit of my commentary about what is next for today. Student loan debt, more debt could be forgiven at least $10,000. The president has offered to forgive $10,000 of student loan debts for people who are of all walks of life. The president first forgave student loan debts for people who became disabled after graduation, then forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the nonprofit sector for 10 years after graduation. And finally, the president forgave student loan debts for people who went to work in the public sector 10 years for graduation. But the Democrats should take this final offer or not final offer, current offer, $10,000. Then fifth stimulus. Yes. Have you gotten that letter from Social Security Administration? Your benefits are going up next year 5.9%, but we're not done there yet because fifth stimulus is right behind it. Fifth stimulus will raise your benefits up if you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security Railroad benefits. Then apply a new benchmark. The new benchmark's inflation. I've been telling you over the last week it's going to be 1 to 3% in December 2022. Yesterday, Jay Powell said it's going to be about 2 to 3% in December 2022. So there we go. That's why you want to do it. First, your benefits go up in January on a COLA lift of 5.9%. Then you'll get another lift on the fifth stimulus. Then they'll apply the benchmark in December next year. 3 lifts in 1 year. They're going to remove the asset cap, remove the income cap, and remove the marriage penalty. And love is going to win, and you'll be able to marry your longtime love interest. Let's go over the exciting details of third stimulus because guess what? It's back on with me, baby. It's back in the videos, and third stimulus is paying a lot of money. When you look at third stimulus, boy, it's just getting more delicious by the hour. And let's look at what you need to know to get this sums of money. When third stimulus became a law, people were saying, oh, $14 stimulus check. I said, no. Focus on the programs. Those programs can pay you $14,000, $15,000, I said. Much the same as fourth stimulus right now. People are focusing on a check. I'm saying focus on the programs because I can get you a lot more money with those programs. And now let's look at the rent. This was the rent 2 months ago, but viewers have now gotten upwards of $40,000. How do they do it? They're getting multiple rounds of these monies. How do you get the rent? City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, State House Authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID. Mortgage, utility assistance because of COVID. You want to read that statement from Treasury in the newsletter before you reach out to them. Then, utilities, get another round of utilities. Mark did. He's going to $15,000. And his brother-in-law got $18,000 for that utilities. Reach out to all utility companies. Then, what's the money for food? SNAP. Get it. Mark's now getting upwards of $28,000 a year. That's over $250,000 he's going to get over the next 10 years because he watched this channel. And then finally, get multiple combos. Here are these people, Nancy, Mark, and Nisi. They should be all getting other rounds. Mark is. Nisi, you should as well. Here we go. Combo, multiple rounds. Mark, keep on pushing. I asked viewers to send me their kind messages of their success stories. And here are what some Purple Hawks told me. So we have Mark who reports he got more money. How much Mark to get? Purple Hawk Mark got an additional round of utilities, $19,500, and got his SNAP lifted to $28,000 this last week. Nicole says, "Hey, LALATE, I've been busy over the last few days, but I want to share this with you. From third stimulus, got $1,500 from a local nonprofit just recently, plus Christmas assistance for our children, plus $5,000 of delinquent medical bills paid for, plus $10,000 of SNAP, plus $10,000 of state pandemic relief for rent and utilities. Thank you so much for everything you've done and continue to do. You're a breath of fresh air, and thank you so much for helping us. Forever grateful, Nicole." I like her message because why? She used the resources, the nonprofits, but asked for other things I don't cover. She got medical bills paid for. She got children assistance of money children assistance. I love it. How do you learn all this? Become a member. The link's under the video. Become a member today. Purple Hawk, Purple Power Casino VIP, and get that membership newsletter. It goes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. that features all the big money under first, second, and third stimulus you can get. Viewers need to get multiple rounds because those rounds of money are available across the board. As we go into a big day, a recon with 3 clusters and potentially 3 add-ons. So far, at the current status of what's in the recon, pays you at least about $15,000 across the board. But we're far from over from there. Continue to advocate across the board. Finally, my messaging and my personal commentary to end the day. It's a very different situation than it was 24 hours ago, where you saw that people were just saying, don't call the vote on the roads and bridges if it's on the recon if it's not ready. We don't want to call vote on something if it's not ready. Well, now the issue is that we shouldn't sit around and just not do something if people are hemming and hawing. You know what it looks like? It looks like you go to the department store and you're with your best friend, and that best friend says, I'm in looking for this shirt, and tries it on and says, oh, but the color's a little bit off. I would have liked the color a little bit better. And the stitching is a little bit different. And you're looking like, you're just complaining. Are you going to buy the shirt or you're not going to buy the shirt? And that's what Bernie Sanders basically started saying yesterday. He said the issue is ultimately whether Senate Manchin is going to vote in favor or against. he's going to have to vote yes or no, and if he wants to go no, he's going to have to vote no. The thing is dragging on for long enough. If people want to vote against it, they have the right to. What is Bernie saying? He's not saying that Manchin's going to vote against it. He's basically saying, I don't believe you are. What I've been tracking with you on this channel for over a year is how people say things. And one of the things we've seen is Kristen Sinema said, I don't like the prescription medication. President negotiating, she said she's fine. The big news today is Manchin is over. Sinema is no longer opposed to the recon. She's fully on board 100% for the recon, all provisions. She's no longer blocking it. That is the current status for Kristen Sinema going forward. She's done, finished, it's all solved because of the president. When you turn to Joe Manchin, what do you see? You see a guy that's starting to look like he's just complaining. Not so much that he wants to block things, that he's just complaining. The sentences are very loosey-goosey. If there's anything that embodies it, it was his comment yesterday about paid leave. You have to shake your head about it. He said about a month ago and about a week ago, I do not want paid leave. It's too expensive. I don't want it. And I said, it doesn't make sense. You got to put it in there. Other countries have it. I know it's expensive, but this is how you have to run your business. What did he say 2 days ago? He said, I'm uncomfortable having it in there. Well, that's different than saying you don't want it in there. Then what did he say yesterday? He said, I like it. It should really, though, go by bipartisan support. See, this is what we're talking about. People saying they really don't like it, and then when you push them, they say, well, I've fully said a lot on this channel. I don't need to say too much more, that I did not cover Joe Manchin during fourth stimulus recon for months because I always know what he does. You always see what he does. He hems and haws, and will ultimately call for a vote. He votes in favor of things. He did for second stimulus. I don't know about third stimulus. Yeah. Every single time he hems and haws, when you call for a vote, he votes in favor of it. So it's like a non-issue with this guy. But I think it's not so much him. It's also these other people. The goth gang. Are you going to really block the recon? The immigration people. Are you going to really block the recon? No. The paid leave people. Are you going to really block the recon? No. I think you're just sort of hemming and hawing. And that is Democrats, when the legislation is introduced as Democrats, you're going to vote in favor of it. And that is why they're ramping this up. They're speeding this up and say, just get it out of the House. Now, on the other hand, the senators want to make a lot of change. There's a lot of good stuff. And you've seen Coons, Casey, Warren, Sanders, Schumer, all saying to viewers of this channel, they want to insert a monthly IRS stimulus check. Make it very clear. How many times have people advocated and got the same message from senators? Not so much from House members. Some House members, AOC, Omar, and Pelosi, and Jalopal, but really from the senators. Senators are now saying, I got a lot of work. Send this stuff over to me, and I will add it. In a way, that Senate subcommittee could help you because there's a lot of stuff they should add it in there. If they add a stimulus check in there on the Senate side, do you think the House is going to oppose it? Of course not. Omar, AOC, Pelosi's office all said they would do it. House members are not going to oppose something senators add in there. So that's why it's really good. Will the vote on the recon be tonight? Who knows? Will the vote on the House side on anything happen tonight? Will it be infrastructure? Don't know. You really don't know what the situation. It's changing very fluid. But the great news is you need to advocate. And you also have to join me because coming up next is Overnight's Crypto on this channel. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I don't want you to miss a single video. Then after that is Morning's Countdown, 7 a.m. Then after that, of course, is Morning to LA live on air. So with that, subscribe, like the video, and consider becoming a member to get that LA newsletter that comes out Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. and features all the big money on the first, second, and third stimulus, so you can get this upwards of $45,000 as well. Stay informed and stay focused. Keep on motivating, whether you are a duchess or a sir. Keep on motivating across the board, and stay with LA.